I want to talk a little bit about the difference between motivation and manipulation. Motivation is what moves you to act. It's internal. What floats your boat? What gets you jazzed? What do you care about? Woo-woo, go Packers. You know, where is your energy and excitement that generates from inside of you? Manipulation is being made to act by external forces. It is what I think you ought to be interested in, or what I think you ought to support, what I think you ought to do in response to the giving campaign. So all stewardship programs in the church, a combination of manipulation and motivation. Now, I don't want to demonize manipulation. Manipulation in and of itself is not a bad thing. When I try to teach you something, I'm here trying to manipulate you. I'm trying to make you think what I think, or think what I think is a good thing to think. So I'm trying to persuade. Persuasion is manipulation. Teaching is manipulation. But learning is motivation. And so it's a dance. It's a dance back and forth between the teaching and the learning, the leading and the following, the hearing and the doing. And so it is not a bad thing. But it can become a bad thing when we lose focus on motivation and think in terms of manipulation. And I want to say, if you look through the stewardship programs that are available to you, they're all a mixture of motivation and manipulation. But what I have seen over the 40 plus years that I've been doing stewardship work is a real movement away from programs that get the people in the pew to do what the church wants them to really beginning to talk with people, to engage with people about what it means to be not only a giver, but what it means to become a generous person. And so there has been an evolution, there has been a movement. But often, the unspoken ulterior motive is, we're going to talk about you, we're going to talk about your faith, we're going to talk about what you do, but don't forget to fill out the commitment card on the Pledge Sunday. So there's kind of that mix that we have to be careful about. And so once again, good, faithful financial stewardship is not about programs and processes, it's about relationships. If I take time with Mike Weaver, right here, put your hand up so they know who I'm picking on. Okay. If I take time with Mike to find out what Mike cares about, what Mike is seeking, what Mike would like to see happen in the world and in the community and in his family, when I get to better understand Mike and what Mike's motivations are, I have opportunities to connect the dots and say, you have a passion for a safe and sustainable world for children. That's a core value of this community of faith. When we can connect about commonalities and passions, when I can find out what motivates Mike, then perhaps my manipulation is a little bit more acceptable and more considerate than just trying to say, we have a budget that needs to be funded, and this is the way we're going to do it. And so it's not either or. I don't want to put a value judgment on it. But what I do want to say is that when you see the emphases of most of our stewardship programs, they have preferenced manipulation over motivation. For that reason, I have always believed even the best stewardship campaigns need some customization in your context. Because if you can build the bridges to the relationships of the community of faith, it will be less manipulative, it will be more motivational. Both are biblical. Manipulation and motivation, both are biblical, but only one of them is really gospel. I'll leave it to you to decide which one that is. It is much more difficult to manipulate generosity than it is to manipulate giving. So I do want to spend a little time talking about kind of that difference between generosity and giving. I can put together a pretty convincing appeal to raise money. I have. I've done this. I was the campaign coordinator for North Carolina annual conference one year, for North Texas. I've done conference-wide campaigns. I had a man who made an $800,000 gift in North Carolina tell me not ever to contact him again because I was so effective at getting him to give money. And he came out of it saying, I really don't know how you did that. We can talk people into giving. But that does not necessarily impact their generosity. If we can cultivate a culture of generosity, it will transform people's giving. And so the focus on generosity is also a core principle. We may be talking from time to time about giving, but if our main focus is to really help people tap into the generosity motivation that most people have inside, we're going to see much more fruit for our efforts. Motivation integrates head, heart, spirit in ways that manipulation does not. If you ever have encountered in your congregation some resistance to a stewardship campaign or a stewardship emphasis, it is because those people are not feeling motivated. They're feeling manipulated. So don't take that as a challenge. Just take that as some helpful information. Later on, and I don't know what Loretta's going to talk about, but when you shift from program to testimony, when you tell stories, when you open up the narrative of people in the community for whom generosity and giving have been transformative, that will have much more power than any step chart or dollar challenge or percent challenge. We've got to start telling the stories. We've got to start coming together in such a way that we are fueling one another's motivation. Almost any time the pastor opens her or his or their mouth to talk about stewardship, some people are going to feel manipulated. When we listen to other lay people just like us, people whose salary isn't paid through the budget, sounds much less manipulative, much more motivational.